So the FT was hacked by a group that at the time called itself the Syrian Electronic Army. I have no idea whether they still exist. And our journalists started receiving emails, sort of fairly standard phishing kind of emails. And I'd always felt like I wouldn't be taken in by phishing emails. I get them all the time, and they're obvious. They spell PayPal incorrectly, that kind of thing. But this was what I came to understand is called a spear phishing attack, where the attackers had targeted us very, very specifically and in a very clever way. And once they had gotten access via a few of our employees' personal email accounts, they managed to compromise a couple of our corporate Google accounts. And at that point, you realize that, you have a perimeter, but if that perimeter is breached, then there's really nothing inside that stops the attackers from getting everywhere. So, we had a corporate address list that allowed them to know the email address of everyone in the company. And so that allowed the attack to grow exponentially. And that became a really big problem. Well, in my case, because I was one of the people whose accounts was compromised, which is, I still feel like, how could that have happened? But it really did, and I have to admit that it did. I got an email from a colleague whose account had already been compromised, and it contained a link to a document which I considered to be a normal thing to receive. And when I clicked on that document link, I got our corporate Google login form, and they had made the host name so long that actually the evil.com part was actually off the end of my phone screen, so I couldn't see it. So there was almost nothing that would have aroused suspicion. It even had a valid TLS cert, and when I logged in, I got to my email. So, because they'd redirected me to my own email account, so I had no idea that I'd been phished, and that was terrifying. Really changed my view of who can be taken in by these things. I think there's lots of things you have to do, because no one thing is going to stop this kind of thing from happening. Even two-factor authentication universally, which we didn't have at the time, would not have necessarily prevented this. It would definitely have reduced the risk a lot, but it's also a matter of taking a kind of submarine approach to security. You have to have hatches absolutely everywhere, so that wherever you get in, the amount of damage you can do is limited. And also you just need to increase awareness and readiness amongst the workforce. So, for example, sending phishing emails intentionally to your own employees, and educating the people who fall for it, that kind of thing. I think there's lots of things you can do, and you kind of need to do all of it to reduce the risk as much as you can. Yeah, I wrote a blog post about it. It's called A Sobering Day, and it talks all about how it happened, and the chaos that it caused, and then how we managed to get it back under control, and eventually get rid of the bad actors and figure out where they were. And in fact, whilst our security and IT teams were figuring out all of that and securing business, the FT's a journalism organization, so the editorial team were busy interviewing the people who were attacking us, which was completely hilarious. And there's a quote from the group in the blog post.